Good evening, friends. Today we are at 12th September 2023. We will discuss few news articles in the light of crime, justice, victim rights, democracy, rule of law, etc. Let's begin with this article. See, it talks about it is an advertisement that I could see in one of the newspapers from the state of Uttar Pradesh. I would like to take your attention to this point: strong conviction rates. You can see that by achieving remarkable conviction rates, notably 487 convicts have been sentenced to life imprisonment, while 4,092 individuals have been incarcerated for crime against women and POCSO Act. Here we could see that conviction rate, it must come with, like, for 1,000 cases filed, how many ended in conviction? Some kind of a rate, it should say like that, not with the number of 487 convicts. This number is not clearly indicating what is the conviction rate. And 4,092 individuals have been incarcerated. What is the meaning of incarcerated? Are they in remand? Remand means they are currently, investigation is going on, no conviction yet. And we should know that, what about victims? What about, have any compensation been provided to them? What is the total amount of compensation paid to them? How many received the compensation? There is no data as far as my understanding here about this. Victim assistance should have been one of the headings in this article. And are they planning any crime prevention program so as to prevent such sexual assaults under POCSO Act and crime against women? That should all, those information is also necessary. Now this news article is in the area of rule of law. See, in 2014, Supreme Court in Subramanian Swamy versus Union of India, it struck down section 6A1 of DPSP Act. All right. But then this article is primarily about, is it retrospective or is it prospective? What is the meaning? Retrospective means, imagine the amendment was done in the law, say in 2003. All right. September 11, 2003, the amendment was made to the act. Then Supreme Court said this amendment is null and void, say for example in 2014. Then is it from 2014, from the date of judgment it is null and void, or is it null and void way back from when the amendment was made to the law? And this, why I am talking in terms of rule of law. CBI, in order to proceed against union government staff, servants of the rank joint secretary and above, they need approval from the government for investigating and prosecuting corruption related matters. There is enough evidence to proceed against, then why there is a requirement of sanction? So that was done away. Now there is no sanction required. So this is progressive in terms of rule of law. The concept of rule of law does not protect somebody who is corrupt. I think with this note, let's move to next news article. See, this is quite interesting. I found it in the front page of Indian Express. The Indian football coach, right? He consulted an astrologer reportedly to select the team to play against Afghanistan in a crucial Asian Cup qualifier. The article says the particular astrologer was introduced to the coach by the All India Football Federation. You can see all this information here, the reported chat that happened between the coach and the astrologer as to whether someone's stars are very helpful for a particular day, for a particular time. In fact, they even reportedly talked about at what time the match is going to start, etc., etc. Here, kickoff time is at 20:30. So this brings us to a larger question of progressiveness over all these things, and how sports system in India, particularly in football, I don't know how far other coaches are. We don't know. This is one sample relation to football that we have here. Now, Delhi police website during the G20 summit was hacked The article is telling that they are operating from Pakistan, but I don't know what evidence in that regard do they have. But some important data was accessed by hackers. So this shows that some of our police websites are still vulnerable to hacking attacks. Now this was about clash between two communities over objectionable post. Now here, the person posts something objectionable, then any party can go and give complaint. That is rule of law. Citizens should not take rule of law in their hands. And see, as a result of these clashes, internet was suspended in these areas. Now, because of these clashes, many people, even there are many health professionals depending on digital. We are also having this e-sanjeevani schemes and all. So everything would be disrupted because of people taking law in their hands. These things we should take care. And you see whether the articles talk about the person who was killed, the family members affected, what loss it is the family, what it does to the victim, how the victim is affected. You check whether these articles talk about that. Primarily, journalists talk about offenders and they kind of forget the victims. And here, an army officer held for killing woman in Dehradun. Now, here I would like to. There are article reports that the army servant has confessed the crime, and it seems to be that there is involvement of dance bar in this picture, and we should know in Dehradun whether the particular dance bar was licensed or not, and whether because often in these bars, trafficked victims are trafficked for the purpose of prostitution, and there is involvement of all these things do happen in such bars and clubs. That is one side. And it seems that it is reported that the person is already married and he is having an extramarital relationship with this woman. And when he was taking her to a long drive, at that time it is reported that this person actually killed her and dumped her body along the roadside. So, you know, this is reported, and there is this news article which talks about kidnapping and killing of a 12-year-old child. And so, you know, and this is, and the police, there is this point about this police custody, if I'm not wrong. Yes, see here, the Judicial Magistrate Court remanded the person to police custody. Police custody is different from judicial custody. In judicial custody, the person will be in a prison or jail, but in police custody, the person will remain in the hands of police. So that is the difference. And and we couldn't see the voice of the victim in this article. Who's the 12-year-old kid? I mean, like, I'm not talking about the identity. What impact does it have to the family of the victim? The article is primarily offender centric. And this news article talks about, there is a person who is not a doctor but gave this monosur 500 injection to a patient who came on information with the cough and fever, and within some time in the same clinic the person passed away. And the accused took the body in his car and dumped the body on a roadside. These are the allegations. We need to, again, if you see here, what about the victim's family, the impact? There is nothing mentioned in this article. We can see the offender centricism in this article. Now, this news article, I will not go deep into it. It says principal who took students to mosque suspended after complaint. There are two sides of the story. One side says that the complaint says school principal for supporting anti-national activities, saying that the said workshop organized on the invite of an organization affiliated to banned Popular Front of India. But on the other side, the principal is found saying this is a usual thing that we do among students. We take them to temples, churches, mosques, etc., etc. And I don't know, there should be proper fair investigation in this matter. And then what exactly is the complaint, whether taking to some mosque, or this is the exact complaint. If taking to mosque is not a problem, that is a different matter. If taking to mosque alone is a problem, that means children should not be taken to temples or churches as well. So this also becomes a issue, right? And one more thing, there is involvement. We could see Vishwa Hindu Parishad is also a part reported in this news article, and several time manifestos of some parties. I know, for example, if I have to say, the 2021 Tamil Nadu manifesto of BJP talks about, educating children about Hindu religious beliefs and practices. So I will not go much into it. So this must be fairly investigated and proper action should be taken. And this news article is about, journalist arrested in Bengal. They are saying, even BJP and Congress are saying that Bengal government is has arrested. According to them, it seems like the person is arrested under false allegation involving Prevention of Atrocities Act, because the person was covering in detail about the illegal liquor trade or hooch trade that is happening in West Bengal state, particularly in the area in Kolkata or somewhere. It's reported here. So, Press Freedom Index, you go and see in Press Freedom Index what is India's rank and performance, and read in detail about why India is in that performance. And this is about Israel. Israel is here. You can see, why I want to talk about Israel. And with respect to the previous article, even the opposition leaders of the opposition were not allowed to see the particular arrested individual. And coming to here, in Israel, there is a discussion on, there have been several attempt, and it is almost the judicial independence has been taken away like that, and particularly through Prime Minister's, efforts. And the people were also protesting for a long period of time. There were news articles saying 5% of the entire population in Israel are doing democratic action, and judicial independence is at trouble, because if judiciary is not independent, then who will check the government's power on behalf of the citizens? And we can draw, you can understand what happens in India. We should understand. See, in 2014, if I'm not wrong, Article 124 capital A was introduced in Indian constitution, that kind of, changes the existing collegium method of appointment to Supreme Court and High Court. However, it was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2015, and very recently we also saw that article. Many ministers, including Minister Kiran Rijiju, were also asking them to bring. This should not be the way of appointment. There should be some representation, etc., etc. However, we should remember that during the emergency, during 1970s, Indira Gandhi was reportedly, tampering with judicial independence, and that is how, the thinking of the collegium system finally materialized, and the appointment was purely done by judiciary so as to ensure judicial independence. You can go through the verdict that struck down Article 124 capital A to have a better understanding on this matter. And this is RBI's integrated ombudsman scheme. If you are giving a complaint to bank but they are not resolving it in 30 days, you can go to RBI ombudsman scheme. They have given you the link, and also by post. And also you can call also and file your complaint, and that is a grievance redressal mechanism. And this information pertains to a public interest litigation filed by a law student. It tells that in 2014 January, in January 2014, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence of Government of India sent some information to SEBI with a CD that allegedly having evidence of siphoning of 2,323 crore by Adani Group, and it also kind of informed the SEBI chairperson, alerting him that the group may be committing stock market manipulation. And despite that, it is reporting that the SEBI chairperson did not take necessary, action or SEBI slept over DRI information, like that. And and here, if you see, the petitioner said Sinha chose to close the investigation instead of acting on DRI's inputs. The then SEBI chairperson in March 2017, who retired as SEBI chairperson March 2017, is a non-executive director of NDTV, which Adani acquired in 2022. Now, this news article talks about Jet Airways founder, seeming to be, in violation with Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Seems like he got this much loan from, credit from Canara Bank, and around 538.62 crore is outstanding. There is involvement of United Arab Emirates and etc. All these necessitates interstate, intercountry cooperation as well. And here, primarily, it talks about in Agartala, right? There is insurgency, or I don't know, they are calling for a separate Tipraha state. Are they calling for another state within India? Are they considering it as a nation state? That is up to, we need to go deep into this matter. Time being, I'll give this information related to this. In this news article, I would like to say Sarath Pawar faction seeks disqualification of NCP MLCs in rebel group. You go to Indian Constitution, you see 10th schedule. It is called as anti-defection law, 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. However, I would like to highlight the power of speaker in relation to handling disqualification complaints is enormous, and often there have been reports that speaker is acting partisan, not acting in a neutral manner. But if you would ask me, I would say in a perfect rule of law country, the speaker should be someone from the opposition or someone who is elected independent. That is my opinion. Anyhow, generally we see speaker is from the ruling party. Now, Sudhakaran is Kerala Congress Committee president. It is reported that there is this antiquities dealer Monsoon. There is already a case. Enforcement Directorate kind of questioned this person because some complainants gave statements that they handed over money to this dealer in presence of Sudhakaran. This is a developing matter. We need to see, you know, we need to see the final report, then the trial. It's a matter that will take more time. Yesterday we discussed about Niger. We discussed about Niger and the coup and how army taking control and the instability, etc., etc. September 12, 1973, this article was reported. It talks about how army kind of ousted, or coup kind of thing that happened in Chile, and Chile president was ousted. You may go through this. In this news article, see, it talks about Spanish Federation president, football president. He resigns. Earlier, he was suspended in connection with sexual harassment of on a player that tarnished Spain's victory at Women's World Cup. Now, it is reported that, see how these news articles report this matter. One reports a kiss scandal, there is kiss of a player on the lips, and there is no remark about victim or victim's impact on this matter. It primarily talks about the offender, and there is attempts to make hugging and certain activities as very normal and not a sexual harassment. But in every time in sexual offenses, consent matters. If you want to, if touch a other person of other gender, there requires to be consent in sexual touches, and physical advances. Hugging is also a sexual touch, because hugging without consent is sexual harassment. That has been clarified time and again, but then we need to reiterate. And it also opens up to the kind of sexual harassment that exists in sports, and you should correlate the happenings that are in India and also with other country, and how in the field of sports or any area should be safe space for all genders. And this article talks about drug smuggling. There is involvement of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Dubai, Canada, United States. Food delivery persons in India are being used. Cash transactions, the cash is being provided to delivery executives through bus drivers. So, and there is a report says that a suspended BSF Jawan, Border Security Jawan, is also playing a role, running one of the drug module, etc. So this all requires multi-level, multinational cooperation, and also a fair investigation, proper investigation, timely investigation within India. Drug abuse is a serious problem. Many youngsters are affected by it, and that tax at India's demographic dividend. And yesterday, this article was published, and we saw, and today it is stated that three held for Faridabad murder. However, we couldn't see information on the victim, not the identity. The loss that is to the victim's family, indirect victims, emotional difficulties. Postmortem has been done. However, it doesn't talk about postmortem videography, whether it was provided or not, whether such arrangement exists in Gurugram or not. It is silent on those aspects. See, Gurugram, Delhi cop's car was taken at gunpoint. Now, these all bring us to a question: who are all the people who are having the arms in their hands? How far Arms Act is implemented? You know, cop. It is again reported only with the final, only after the trial at the court we know what exactly happened. And these articles are also not focusing on speedy investigation. There should be some version about it. Police have investigated. Police will probably should investigate within 3 months. Some kind of these statements are necessary so that the offender will not get compulsory bail under 167 CRPC. These statements are missing, right? And again, here in Sonipat in Haryana, two groups of advocates are clashing on court premises, reportedly fired in the air. Again, Arms Act, lawyers, transgressing, and there are also CCTV cameras, and if CCTV evidences should be recognized, a certificate should be obtained under Section 65B4 of Indian Evidence Act. All these informations are missing. And Himachal Pradesh schools have damaged. Around 385 schools are reportedly damaged, and children are the supremely important national assets, and their fundamental right to education under Article 21 capital A of Indian Constitution should not be affected. This talks about the IIT director's views, saying that asking people not to take meat, as a result only landslides and cloudbursts happening. And I find out that, see, this comes, because of you people, we are facing cloudburst and landslide. It is kind of a judgment on others. How can a human being judge on others, whether on basis of food preference, and accusing an entire community of non-vegetarians for landslides and cloudbursts? And not, I don't, therefore, is it really because of, is he really sympathizing or empathizing with cruelty to animals? That is questionable. This author here in the comment section says landslide and cloudburst are recurring natural disasters. The prime reason is extensive cutting of hill slopes for construction and widening of roads. And IIT director's statements are contrary to Article 51 capital A H of Indian Constitution. It's the fundamental duty of all citizens to develop scientific temper. And you can relate with the astrologer, Indian football coach discussion, etc., etc. So this is in Himachal Pradesh, Shimla. Government is planning to provide rented houses to disaster-hit families. It is stated that around 13,000 houses are damaged. And at some point, how this is going to be worked out, whether the people will be charged or how long government will support, all those information we need to see. And it is also stated that jackfruit cultivation is one of the option for Shimla and Himachal Pradesh. That is one additional point. And the on 9/11 anniversary, U.S. resolution condemns hatred, racism that is happening in United States. They are condemning hatred. Xenophobia means hate among persons from other countries. Racism, and that are faced by people from Arab countries, Muslim nations, South Asian countries, and Sikh communities. After the terror attack, they are being targeted more. Hate crimes are more. So, if they are condemning these hate crime at the United States on the 9/11 anniversary. And this talks about Libya. It borders with Mediterranean Sea. Storm, around 150 people were killed. We should know that what are the damages, how children and women and elderly and differently able people are taken care of, what kind of rehabilitation are they planning to do, how nations are supporting them. All this information is required. All these vulnerable populations should be looked at. Here in United Kingdom, they are planning to ban a dog variety called American Excel Bully Dog because it poses threatening to various persons at the United Kingdom. This is about that news article. And this article pertaining to China, they are talking that their defense minister is missing for 2 weeks. And it also states that earlier, the foreign minister was missing. Then the rocket force commanders go missing. Now, defense minister goes missing. This is again questions the country where people are missing. Either they must be detained or they have been sacked. This is what reported in this news article. And here in Supreme Court, CJ is Supreme Court is asking, can members of Editors Guild be booked over Manipur report? They did some investigation in Manipur and came up with independent report. Why are you filing a case for them because they published a report based on what they observed in Manipur? Again, fact finding investigations by non government organizations is not, it helps the investigation. And here and many a time, some government staffs do talk against fact finding investigations, because many a times investigations by enforcement authorities have committed several errors or mistakes. That is why state of Gujarat versus Kishanbai in Supreme Court verdict in, I think, in 2014 or 2015, asked state governments to create committees that will look into all cases of acquittal, whether there is lapse on the part of investigation or on the part of prosecution, and disciplinary action will be taken. And how far this Supreme Court verdict is implemented in the states, we couldn't see much articles reported. Every time when they talk about some acquittal, they don't give that information, even journalists for that matter. So that has to be set right. And the Editors Guild is saying, we went to Manipur only at the request of army and then we presented our report. Then why are you filing case on defamation, defying places of worship? Maybe they might have brought several information in their report. And this again is, I think, goes against rule of law and democratic values if there is no error on the part of Editors Guild with respect to their report. And it is very important that journalists, researchers, independent NGOs to go and study the situation, field level situation. It's basic right. And this is an additional article I found. This is in Rajasthan. They are providing this social justice or facilitating people with uh, discounted or you know at lower price food security. These are the two job vacancies I have found in today's newspaper. You are requested to go through the official notification. This is the notification related to data protection officer. One thing to note, they are not worried about education qualification. I think they should consider people from cyber forensics and information security or information security, like that. However, they are very specific on experience and other qualifications. With this, we come to the end of today's analysis of crime, justice, victim rights, rule of law, democracy, social justice, etc. This week we will not be having any more videos due to commitments. We will have it from next week. And keep supporting whatever you feel. Share it in the comment section. All the very best. See you in one another video. Bye.